Xu Feng walked toward a piece of stone lying in the corner. Pointing at it, he said it would make the total exactly $100 and asked the old man if he would sell it to him. The old man pushed up his glasses, examined the stone carefully, and explained that it had come from an abandoned old house. He had just picked it up randomly. But before he could finish speaking, Xu Feng picked up the stone and started walking away, calling back over his shoulder that it was settled and telling the old man to hurry home early. The old man was still holding the bill, uncertain of what to do next. Just then, a bolt of lightning lit up the sky, casting a brief flash across the small building. Xu Feng squinted and rubbed his eyes, then looked again. A car was now blocking the alleyway, right in front of a sign that clearly prohibited parking. He was slightly tipsy and muttered under his breath, cursing the infuriating stone. It was as if the thing played hide-and-seek in the neighborhood every day. He swore that once he got his hands on it, he would smash it to pieces so it would stop blinding him again. With that, Xu Feng quietly stepped into the room. The room was dim, cloaked in silence, until a voice suddenly echoed, jolting him from his thoughts. "Back early today, huh?" In front of him stood a girl with soft pink hair, Lin Shi. He blurted out instinctively, caught off guard. Then collecting himself, he tried to act tough. "It's late. What are you doing at my place? Aren't you afraid I might do something to you?" Lin Shi stiffened, her brows furrowing. "Don't talk nonsense," she snapped. Still, a blush bloomed across her face, painting her like a flustered maiden. "It's not like we're getting married or anything," he muttered a bit awkwardly. "So what's up?" Her eyes drifted to the object in his hand. Curious, she asked, "What's with the rock?" With a dull thud, Xu Feng dropped the flip-flops he'd been holding and walked over to the balcony. He pushed the door open. Startled, Lin Shi reached for him. "Are you crazy? It's about to rain." But he stepped outside anyway, letting the first drops hit his skin. "Go," he told her, voice low. "Hurry back, or that Xiao Yilin will drag people over here again." Lin Shi's voice trembled. "I don't want to go home tonight." Xu Feng didn't react, just answered calmly, "Then do whatever you want." As the rain soaked through his clothes, he stood still, motionless, lost in thought. "My parents are gone. The Lin family raised me out of kindness, but my body's not going to last much longer. So I waste my days like this, pretending I don't care." Head tilted toward the sky, he let the cold rain pour down, his expression empty, distant. "I'm sorry, Lin Shi. I can't return your feelings." Then he glanced down at the car parked below, also drenched. His gaze dropped to the rock still in his hand. He turned to her and said softly, "Let's make a deal. I'll throw this rock down. If it hits that BMW, you go downstairs and head home alone." "Okay." Lee agreed with her hands on her hips. "Okay, I agree with you." Xu Feng was determined. "Can't delay. I must make her give up." He raised the rock and shouted, "Damn car, you're disturbing people at night." A bolt of lightning struck, and unlucky as it was, it struck him. Lin Shi panicked. Xu Feng. The rock in his hand cracked and broke into pieces. She was stunned. Immediately after, Xu Feng disappeared from the balcony. A scream tore through the space. He plummeted freely into the dark abyss, landing hard with a heavy thud. The remaining rock in Xu Feng's hand began to glow, transforming into a small, radiant purple stone. He clenched his teeth in pain. "I've been struck by lightning." The stone pulsed with light, sending out tiny sparks of electricity that danced in the air. Slowly, a lotus flower started to materialize, floating upwards as it released an immense wave of purple energy. Xu Feng's strength waned. Unable to hold on any longer, he gradually closed his eyes. And then he slipped into a deep, endless sleep. He heard an abusive voice. "Don't you hurry up and kneel for me." Xu Feng woke up with a start. He lay on the ground confused. "I transmigrated. The purple lotus flower emits light and infinite energy." Shuang slowly woke up. "Where is this?" After seeing the situation clearly, he quickly sat up, exclaiming in panic. "Dad, Mom, oh my God," Xu Feng speculated. "This must be the world of thunder and lightning." A small flower suddenly appeared on his forehead, and he immediately felt it. This feeling as Xu Feng was stunned. Ancient script. Then a sharp pain struck, causing him to painfully hold his head. After shouting in the flower for a while, he dazedly wondered. It stopped. Why does it feel like there's something extra in my brain? A shout startled him awake. You wretch! Two men appeared in sight. The one in front shouted, You wretch! Kneel down! Xu Feng stiffened, accepting the reality. Where am I? Did I transmigrate? In an instant, the memories of the original owner flooded his head. Xu Feng's mouth dropped open. Seriously, I got transmigrated as a servant. And get this, my soul just cringed, remembering the OG body peeping on a girl, undressing by the water like some creepy stalker. Xu Feng's face palled as he muttered. Sneaking a peek at the maids is one thing, but the victim was a high-born young miss. He blushed, resting his chin in his hand, admiring her. I wouldn't be able to resist such a beauty either. See, this kid actually has good taste. A man with a dark expression stepped in front of the young lady and shouted aggressively, demanding to know where she was looking and calling her a dog servant. He ordered her to kneel. Xu Feng frowned, instantly recognizing the type, one of those arrogant young masters straight out of a novel. In his mind, he likened him to the kind of guy who drove a BMW, loud, entitled, and irritating. Frustrated, Xu Feng wondered why he had transmigrated as a servant. Why couldn't he have been a young master from a powerful family instead? He began imagining himself as someone important, surrounded by admiring girls living a carefree and luxurious life. That was the kind of life he wanted. With that thought, he pushed himself up. I'm talking about you, you dog servant. Kneel down for me. How dare a piece of trash like you talk back to me? The man snapped, his voice filled with contempt. Xu Feng, equally irritated, shot back without hesitation. He wasn't the type to back down, not anymore. He boldly declared that he had no reason to be afraid. After all, he had grown up as a top-tier modern youth, the kind who took pictures riding tigers for fun. His voice rose with stubborn confidence as he started arguing, in a way that made little sense but carried full conviction. He challenged the accusation, questioning what exactly he was supposed to have seen. Then, without pause, he called out the hypocrisy, demanding to know if these so-called young masters and ladies thought they could do whatever they wanted just because they outnumbered him. Did they really think their families gave them the right to bully others so openly? At this, the young lady in question faltered, stammering shyly, clearly unsure of how to respond to his sudden outburst. Li Wei, trembling with rage, suddenly charged forward, unable to hold himself back. But before he could reach Xu Feng, Li Haiwan raised a hand and stopped him with a firm voice. Li Wei, stop! Xu Feng, his face pale from the tension, let out a quiet breath of relief. He hadn't expected to get out of that one unscathed. Li Wei turned on his older brother angrily. Big bro, why are you stopping me? I need to teach this dog servant a lesson. Li Haiwan fixed him with a sharp, warning glare. This is the Xiao manor, he said coldly. Not a place where you can run wild. Calm down. A cold glint flashed in his eyes, subtle, but enough to make Xu Feng take mental note. He narrowed his eyes cautiously. Something about Li Haiwan didn't sit right with him. This guy isn't as simple as he looks, Xu Feng thought warily. But I've seen enough two-faced schemers in ancient dramas to know how this game works. Li Haiwan stepped forward and pressed the issue. You claim we're bullying you with our numbers. Then tell me, what exactly were you doing hiding behind the rockery pond? Xu Feng didn't miss a beat. He saw the opening and went straight for it with a mocking grin. Ha ha ha, how ridiculous. I got there before the young miss, didn't I? She can't deny that, can she? All eyes turned to the young lady, who hesitated for a moment before blushing and nodding silently. Xu Feng seized the momentum. See? She admitted it. So who was peeping on who here? You rich kids just love twisting black and white like it's your favorite hobby, Xiaolin Lu thought to himself. This Xu Feng has not only eaten a leopard's gall, but his tone has also become increasingly aggressive. Xu Feng continued to press. Why don't you ask this young miss why she was secretly peeping at me? My chastity is important too. Xiaolin Lu spat out the tea he hadn't finished drinking. Your chastity, my foot. You're pushing your luck, pretending to be innocent. Deserve a beating. Li Hei was still bitter. Whether you were peeping or not, we will investigate it thoroughly, Shuang said carelessly. Whatever. Then he cupped his hands in a farewell gesture. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. I still have flowers to prune. Xiaolin Lu acted all calm and collected, but in her head she was cursing. Prune flowers, my ass. More like you'd gleefully massacre Zhao Yin's flower garden. He coldly instructed, you may leave. When pruning, there's no need to water them. Also, Xiaolin Lu said through gritted teeth, if you really do something to disgrace the family, I definitely won't let you off easy. Xu Feng bowed his head and replied, yes, young master. In his heart, he was secretly praising this kid's decent character. He slowly walked toward the door, then suddenly turned back and grinned at the young lady. Even though you peeked at me, I won't need you to take responsibility, which just made her want to bury herself alive. Lingei was enraged and wanted to charge forward, but was held back. Damn it, let me go. The maids standing guard outside whispered amongst themselves. Just a servant daring to have delusions of grandeur, trying to bite off more than he can chew. What a shameless guy and a good-for-nothing too who can't even cultivate any Xuanian skills, yet he dares to sneak a peek. One of the maids couldn't help but sneer. A servant is just a servant of low status, a useless bum who dares to pick fights with the young masters and young ladies. He really doesn't value his life. Shuang wandered off deep in thought. I didn't do anything bad in my past life. Why did I get struck by lightning? She couldn't help but shove him. Get out of the way. Xu Feng didn't have time to react, lost his balance and tumbled down. Ow! He looked at his scratched hands and cried out, that hurts! Xu Feng, red-faced, turned back and shouted, who did that? Run if you dare. He heard the whispering and gossip, and turned around to leave. That maid laughed mockingly. Serves him right. Ha ha. But the person next to her turned her head, saw something, and her face pale. After seeing the person in front of them, they hurriedly bowed. Second young miss. This beautiful girl was the Xiao family's second young miss. Xiao Yilin, she asked. That servant? The maid behind her replied. It's that servant who dared to sneak a peek at Miss Xia from afar. Hu Heng had reached outside the courtyard gate when a little girl fell from the steps. The gate guards were indifferent, not even bothering to pay attention. A hand reached out. Let me help you up. He reached out to tie the loose strap on her shoe. This way you won't trip. The little girl saw the scratch on his hand and said, Big brother, your hand is hurt. Xu Feng patted her head to comfort her. I was just careless earlier. A shout rang out. Don't touch my daughter. A woman walked over, picked up the little girl, and before leaving, didn't forget to mock. Stay away from him. Be careful he doesn't lead you astray. He frowned unhappily and turned to leave. Page. Forget it. It's hard to be a good person. Suddenly, a voice stopped him. Wait. He recognized the second young miss, inwardly recalling, isn't she Xiaolin Unk's cousin? The Xiao family's second young miss, Xiao Yilin. What does she want with me? Xu Feng folded his arms and asked, do you need something from me? Xiao Yilin was surprised. He's not afraid of me. Follow me, he followed curiously, asking, second young miss, where are we going? Xu Feng thought to himself. She hasn't taken a liking to me, has she? After walking for a while, she stopped and advised, if you don't want to get beaten up by Lihiwan, you should run away quickly. He was surprised and confused. Second young miss, what are you talking about? She suddenly exclaimed anxiously. I'm saying if you want to live, then run away quickly. Zhao Yilin stood opposite him, urging, you're no match for Lihiwan. This person looks gentle on the outside, but he's extremely ruthless. Xu Feng, arms crossed, calmly replied, run. Is that really the only way? Her face remained expressionless as she said, there is, but it's impossible for you, unless you become a Xuan cultivator, and a damn strong one at that. So strong that Li Haiwan wouldn't dare to mess with you. He pondered, thinking, Xuan cultivator? I seem to remember the memories of this body's former owner mentioning it. Xuan cultivators are mortals who rely on cultivating Xuan techniques to escape mortality. A Xun cultivator through water immersion, fire refinement, medicinal herbs, lightning strikes, and so on. all to temper the body, making their physique stronger, and cultivating Shuan techniques. Xu Feng clenched his fist, his heart full of determination. Looks like becoming a Xuan cultivator is the only choice. He cupped his hands and bowed politely, saying, "Thank you for the reminder, second miss, but I don't want to just run away like this." Xiao Yilin felt like her words were wasted on deaf ears, so she turned away in a huff and said, "You deserve to die." Xu Feng stood there alone, scratching his head. How can I become a Xuan cultivator? He sat on the boat, drifting on the water's surface. The light from the lantern made the space warm. Xu Feng recalled that Li Xuan was a Xuan cultivator with considerable strength. I have to surpass him in a short time, he mused. The only way to surpass him is to temper myself. Only lightning tribulation, the power of the lightning pool, also known as the power of quasi-heavenly punishment, is an extremely powerful method, but it's not easy to cultivate. Shuang frowned in worry. How can I reach Li Huan's level? He lay down on the boat, looked up at the sky, and sighed. And with this body, I don't even have a shred of Xuan cultivation. Heaven is too cruel. A small 5-petal purple flower appeared between his eyebrows, emitting a soft light. Xu Fang felt something was different and sat up, holding his head. Why does it feel a bit hot? Am I getting sick? The small flower shone brighter and brighter, and the petals broke away, fluttering in the air. He lay on the giant flower, looking at the scene before him in confusion, thinking to himself, what the hell is going on? The morning sunlight shone down on the rooftops. A servant saw Xu Fang appear and raised his voice. Boy, you finally decided to come back. I thought you ran away in the night. Then he pointed his face and scolded. What are you looking at? Hurry up and go clean the latrines for me. Xu Fang smiled and asked, Are you talking to me? He flared up and increased his volume. Are you deaf? This is the manner. If you don't clean the latrines, who will? He calmly said, Second miss has a painting lesson today, so I have to go teach her. I don't have time to clean the latrines. The servants were thunderstruck. He darkened his face. You think I'm an idiot? Xu Fang asked with an innocent look. Oh, so you're not. The servant felt like beating him up, so he swung his fist, intending to teach him a lesson. You're asking for it, he thought to himself. This little brat dares to defy my orders. Good. I'll take this opportunity to teach him a lesson and see who dares to look down on me in the future. Shuang's eyes lit up. He was surprised. What's this? He focused on observing the servant's movements, then became confused. Why is the speed so slow? The servant froze in place in disbelief. He dodged it. People around him began to gossip. Someone without Xuan cultivation actually dodged an attack from a peak third-rank Xuan cultivator. So that's all there is to a third rank. Hearing those words, the servant's face turned pale. The servant, blood rushing to his head, swung his fist again. Die. After dodging the attacks a few times, Xu Feng speculated, Sure enough, the speed is very slow. Is it possible that all attack speeds look this slow in my eyes? Awesome. Not wanting to play cat and mouse anymore, he swung his hand and sent him flying backward. The servant collapsed onto the ground, coughing up blood. No, it can't be. The other servants started gossiping again. Heavens, someone who hasn't even entered the ranks, defeating a peak third-rank expert. What a joke. Xu Fang was a little stunned. Is this my current strength? He gently touched his forehead. That encounter in that space before was so lucky. At that time, he was sitting on a lotus flower, surrounded by a series of ancient characters. Shuang was dumbfounded. Why can't I understand these ancient texts? They seem very similar to the mark in my memory. Wait, this is a bamboo book appearing before his eyes. Dao Xuan scripture, he recalled. Based on the memories of this body, the Daoan scripture is a sacred scripture and treasure of the Haxia Taoist sect. Once this cultivation method is cultivated to a certain level, it can transform an ordinary person into a master. It is an extremely magical treasure, turning bad into good, rigidity into flexibility, uselessness into usefulness. Anything is possible. Shuang held the bamboo book in his hand and immediately felt confident. With this thing, I can become a Xuan cultivator. He eagerly opened it. Xu Feng said he wanted to see what powerful cultivation methods were inside. After researching for a while, he sat cross-legged and summarized that, apart from the external cultivation content, everything else turned out to be healing methods without any offensive techniques. Xu Feng then looked up at the neatly arranged bamboo books and wondered whether he could only understand the first volume or if he needed to raise his cultivation level before accessing the others. After some thought, he focused and resumed cultivating, deciding that having everything wasn't necessarily good. He said that since he had this volume, he didn't believe he couldn't deal with Li Hiwan. Once he finished cultivating, he exclaimed in surprise that the Dawan scripture was really something. He admitted it made people uneasy and was full of difficult parts to cultivate. He felt his body had changed a little compared to before and decided to test it out. A wave suddenly surged up when he struck the water, causing two fish to fly out. He caught the falling droplets and happily noted that he had reached peak second rank. He then stood in front of the servant, his face extremely serious, declaring that now that he had become a Xuan cultivator, he wouldn't allow others to continue bullying him. The servant, pale with fear, asked shakily whether Xu Feng had become a Xuan cultivator. Xu Feng looked down at him with disgust and said he had just happened to cultivate all night and had conveniently become a Xuan cultivator, just in time to use the servant for a test run. He stepped on the servant's chest, causing the latter to scream like a pig being slaughtered. Xu Feng glared at him and said it served him right. He then stepped on the servant's hand and asked who exactly washed the toilet. The servant caught on quickly and said he would wash it. Xu Feng sneered, saying that since the servant was so willing to help, he would gladly fulfill his wish. The servants behind them whispered that Xu Feng was shameless. They watched him walk away whistling and whispered again, wondering how he had suddenly become so powerful, like he had turned into a completely different person. They decided they shouldn't mess with him anymore. At the servant's residence, Xu Feng pushed open the door and immediately felt disgusted by the interior. He lamented that he had never lived in such a cramped place in his previous life and didn't expect to live in one in this life either. Clenching his fist, he told himself he still needed to upgrade his strength, saying that even his body couldn't stand staying in a place like that. He figured he would get sick sooner or later. He also remembered Li Xuan, whom he referred to as a ticking time bomb, targeting the hard-working Xu Feng. With a grunt, he sat down to cultivate again, saying he had to speed up his progress. A huge energy source surrounded his body as he declared that, with his current peak second rank, he had to break through to the third. A purple beam of light radiated from him, bursting with power. An hour later, Xu Feng looked at his body, basking in the afterglow, and joyfully exclaimed that he hadn't expected to reach peak third rank so quickly. Propping up his chin, he mused that the combination of the strange scripture and purple lightning was surprisingly effective. He wondered what exactly the purple lightning was, but decided not to worry about it for now, thinking that anything that boosted his strength was a good thing. He told himself that he needed to quickly reach peak fourth rank, and then break through to the fifth. As long as he became a fifth-rank Xuan practitioner, he believed his status in Xiao Manor could be upgraded. He reviewed his knowledge and reminded himself that only by reaching fifth rank could he cultivate the Xuan Tranquility technique, which helped to calm the mind, enhance the spirit, and heal injuries from the esoteric scripture. He felt a bit deflated, but he still told himself that to reach that level, he would need resources to guide the energy inside his body. Suddenly, Zhang Yuan appeared outside the door and asked if Xu Feng was all right. Xu Feng, a bit unsure, stammered Zhang Yuan's name. Zhang Yuan laughed and said the brat still remembered him. Xu Feng thought to himself that he did remember Zhang Yuan, originally from a prominent family, but after some major incident, he had ended up in Xiao Manor, just like the deceased Xu Feng. He believed Zhang Yuan was at peak fourth rank, but stuck there due to a lack of resources. Zhang Yuan explained that the steward had sent him out on some tasks, and he had only just heard what happened to Xu Feng. It was clear that Zhang Yuan was the only one in the manor who truly cared about Xu Feng. Xu Feng forced a smile and said not to worry. It was just a small matter. Zhang Yuan excitedly put his hand on Xu Feng's shoulder, telling him he had changed and seemed like a totally different person. Xu Feng shyly said that everyone changes after going through things. Zhang Yuan sat down beside him and told him not to worry too much. He said although Xu Feng had run into trouble, he was still better off than before. He advised Xu Feng to just wait things out until Li Huan and the others got bored, reminding him that this was the Xiao manner. There would always be another sucker to take the heat. Xu Feng said he knew what he was doing, but asked if Zhang Yuan still hadn't broken through to the 5th rank. Zhang Yuan opened up and lamented that without the resources those rich family kids had, it wasn't easy to break through on effort alone. He seriously urged Xu Feng to cultivate diligently, saying it hadn't been easy for him to become a Xuan practitioner. Xu Feng smiled and said he understood. Inwardly, he realized that without cultivation resources, reaching 5th rank was really difficult. Under the bright sunlight, Xu Feng swept the courtyard while thinking that he needed to find a way to help Dang Yuan get resources and reach 5th rank. He said that once Dang Yuan reached it, his status in the manor would change dramatically. He then chuckled, saying that would finally allow him to be lazy. Suddenly, a voice called out, criticizing him. A mere Lin family servant, and all you know is how to be lazy. Startled, Xu Feng stiffened and turned his head, internally cursing his luck. It was Xiao Yi Lin, just his luck. He thought to himself that he had only been joking, but the Xiao family's second miss had overheard. Clasping his hands, he hurriedly denied it, asking who was lazy and insisting that someone like him couldn't possibly have such thoughts. He told her she must have misheard. He quickly corrected himself, saying he had meant to say, "Absolutely, can't be lazy." Clearly, Xiao Yilin didn't believe him and snorted, making Xu Feng anxious. He thought that if he got caught by this big sister, he'd die a horrible death. When Xiao Yilin sighed, Xu Feng panicked, thinking he was done for. He noticed that she looked upset and guessed it wouldn't end well for him. Trying to change the subject, he asked, "Second miss, who upset you?" She had been waiting for that question and immediately transformed into a tigress, yelling angrily that it was that fat Ling family girl who dared to hit her follower. Definitely won't let her get away with it. Does she really think this young lady is easy to bully? Chuang's eyes widened, understanding the situation. So, she was bullied outside. In this city, the Ling family and the Xiao family are fiercely opposed, and the second miss and the Ling family's young lady are like water and fire. Almost every time they meet, they explode. Looking at Xiao Yilin's tigress appearance, he sighed. Although the second miss can't be considered a virtuous lady, the woman who can make her so angry is definitely not simple. Xu Feng immediately made his stance clear. Did that absolute pain in the ass piss off the second miss again? Xia Yilin, seeing someone asked about it, immediately vented. "Yeah, she's a total. She dared to scold me over a tiny little gourd. Even insulted the Xiao family ancestors. If it weren't for those useless lackeys of hers, I would have knocked her teeth out already." She gritted her teeth and huffed. Isn't she just relying on her powerful followers? If this young miss didn't want to hold back, I would have dealt with them all a long time ago. Xiao Yilin remembered her new backup and scoffed. Now I'm going to see my cousin and demand some people. Not wanting to miss the chance, he immediately volunteered. If the second miss needs people, can you bring me along? Stunned you. After hesitating for a moment, Xiao Yilin agreed. Fine, you can follow me, but you'll stand behind me. Xu Feng was overjoyed. Thank you, second miss. You can rest assured. Xiao Linlu was sitting on the veranda, quietly reading a book, the golden sunlight shining down, creating an extremely serene scene. Xiao Yilin came to stand outside the door and greeted. Cousin Xiaolin Lu looked up and immediately noticed Xu Feng behind her, somewhat confused. Why is he with Yin? She stepped forward, whining. Cousin, give me some 5th rank cultivators. I want to teach that damn Ling Hua a lesson. He was surprised. What? 5th rank? After understanding the whole story, he immediately refused. If 5th rank Shuang cultivators take action, the Ling family servants definitely won't be able to stop them, which would only escalate the conflict between the two families. Xiao Yilin, with tears welling up, asked, Cousin, are you going to give them to me or not? After saying that, she threw herself onto his arm and started wailing. Woohoo! Xiao Linlu was 3 parts helpless, 7 parts overwhelmed by her pitiful act. I'll give you 3 peak 4th rank cultivators. That's more than enough to deal with those servants. She did an about face faster than flipping a pancake, and immediately, Immediately agreed. Okay. Xiao Yilin achieved her goal and happily left. Let's go. Shuang obediently followed behind, replying, yes. Xiaolin Lu instructed Xu Feng. Be careful in the future. Try your best not to appear in Li Huan's sight, he replied. I understand. Please rest assured, young master. Xu Feng and Xiao Yilin were walking down the hallway when they ran into Liwei, who said, you still had the nerve to stay here, he thought to himself. Of course, I'd run into the one person I didn't want to see. Liwei switched on his trash-talking mode. Looks like I'll have to teach you a proper lesson. Xiao Yin stood in front of him, raising her hand to stop him. Stop it, Liwei. This is my third uncle's house, not yours. He was still dismissive, pointing. Second, Miss Xiao. Keeping a useless horse like him around will only damage the Xiao family's reputation. Why don't I take care of him for you? She rolled her eyes, annoyed. The affairs of my Xiao family are not for outsiders like you to meddle in, Li Wei whispered in Shuang's ear. Kid, consider yourself lucky today, but you won't be so lucky next time. I'm still here for another month, and I'll find an opportunity to teach you a lesson. He folded his arms and replied, I'm afraid you don't have the ability.